Well, hello, Students for Life. Wow. Thank you, Kristen Hawkins, for those stirring words. And more importantly, thank you. Thank you, Kristen Hawkins, for your principled and relentless leadership for life. You know, she could have introduced me a little bit shorter. She could have just said what I'd like to say. I'm Mike Pence, and I'm all in for life. How about you? I got to tell you, it's just great for us to be here. And it is great to see you back together for the National Pro-Life Summit. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Students for Life of America, an organization that's raising up bold new leaders and empowering you young Americans to change our culture one life at a time. You are the pro-life generation. And I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful you were out in the cold yesterday marching for life. Let me also say to all the great advocates for the cause of life who are here today and the sponsoring organizations who've made this summit possible, first time just a couple of years ago, you have our thanks as well. Alliance Defending Freedom, Heritage Foundation, Priests for Life, and my friends at Young America's Foundation. Let's hear it for all the great sponsors bringing together this National Summit for Life. And finally, allow me a point of personal privilege to introduce to you a mother, a new grandmother, a Christian school teacher, a champion for the unborn, and unquestionably the most pro-life second lady the United States has ever had. Would you join me in thanking Karen Pence for all she has done for the cause of life? Isn't she great? So anyway, I'm Karen's husband. I'm also the proud father of a pro-life activist who spoke at the very first National Summit named Charlotte Pence Bond. And I know it's hard to believe, but I was actually a student for life not too long ago. I mean, the truth is, 5 years after that fateful decision by the Supreme Court, back in 1978, when I was a college student, I made a personal decision to put my faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And when I opened His Word, I read those ancient words. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And I heard that admonition as well. See, I set before you today life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. And I knew in that moment that the cause of the author of life must become my life. And I have stood without apology for the sanctity of life every single day. So like all the great pro-life champions in this room and those that are looking on, I'm not new to the cause of life. I'm humbled to report to you that I stood for life during my years in the Congress of the United States, and I authored the first legislation to defund Planned Parenthood. As governor of Indiana, I championed the unborn and adoption reform. For to be pro-life, you must be pro-adoption. Thanks to the work of this pro-life generation, it was my great privilege to serve as Vice President in the most pro-life administration in the history of the United States. Every single day, we stood for the right to life. It's true. Under the Trump-Pence administration, we reinstated and expanded the Mexico City policy that ensured that not one penny of taxpayer dollars would be used to promote abortion around the world. We cut funding to the United Nations Population Fund, and we opposed efforts at the UN to make abortion an international human right. And maybe most important of all, we confirmed more than 300 conservatives to our federal courts, including Justice Neil Gorsuch, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And it was perhaps the highest honor of my service as President of the Senate when I had the privilege to cast the tie-breaking vote that gave states the ability to defund Planned Parenthood. We made great progress because of all of you. But how times have changed. Today, a new administration is, I love you too. Where was I? No, times have changed, everybody. New administration is advancing abortion on demand at home and abroad. President Joe Biden even abandoned his long-standing support for the Hyde Amendment and now supports taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. Now, more than ever, I say to this pro-life generation, we need new conservative majorities in the House and the Senate, and the time has come for the Supreme Court of the United States to return the question of life to the states and the people. And traveling across our great nation those past 4 years, I want to encourage each and every one of you with the word that I know in my heart, that the tide has turned for the pro-life movement. The pro-life generation has never been stronger. And thanks to all of you, life is winning in America again. It's true. And never doubt the American people are on our side. And I believe a majority of the highest court in the land is on our side as well. The choice before the Supreme Court is the same choice that voters will face in the next election. It's a choice between two distinct worldviews that are as far apart as the East is from the West. The left believes that children are a burden. We know that children are a gift from God. The left believes that the institution of family is outdated and unnecessary. We know that family is the bedrock of our civilization. The left believes it's right to force their radical beliefs on society through unelected judges. We believe in government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The question before the American people is no less than this. What kind of nation do we want to be? Do we want to be a nation that tolerates abortion on demand through all 9 months of pregnancy? Or do we want to be a nation that champions and celebrates the gift of every human life? A nation that comes alongside women in need. A nation that stands up for the weak and fights for the defenseless. A nation that says proudly without apology that every life matters and every child deserves a chance. My fellow Americans, that is who we are, and that is what we must become again. For today, we gather on the verge of what may be a new era in American history. An era in which all human life is once again cherished and respected. An era in which the great moral questions of our time are decided by the people through their chosen representatives instead of unelected judges. We may well be on the verge of an era when the Supreme Court sends Roe v. Wade to the ash heap of history where it belongs. We are asking the court in no uncertain terms to make history. We are asking the Supreme Court of the United States to overturn Roe v. Wade and restore the sanctity of life to the center of American law. The heartbreaking consequences of the Roe decision cannot be overstated. More than 62 million unborn children in the United States have been aborted since 1973. In other words, nearly 20% of the U.S. population is gone. Lives of incalculable promise were ended before they were born. And countless young women, now through multiple generations, have experienced sorrow and regret that can last a lifetime. The court's decision in Roe v. Wade has inflicted a tragedy not only on our nation but on humanity, whose scale is unprecedented in the history of mankind. In the 48 years since the court's ruling, unborn children have been segregated into a caste of second-class citizens, devoid of the most basic human right, the right to life. Precious babies have lived outside the protection of the law, at the mercy of a culture that devalues them, and an abortion industry that profits from their suffering. Abortion is even being used as a tool of eugenics for the elimination of children of the wrong sex or race, or those suffering from disability. Today, more than 2/3 of all babies with Down syndrome in the United States are killed in their mother's womb. This must end. As governor of Indiana, I was proud to sign a law banning elective abortion based on a child's race, gender, or disability, and we must end this injustice nationwide, and we must end it now. Now, Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, once wrote that eugenics, in her words, was, quote, the most adequate and thorough avenue in the solution of racial, political, and social problems, close quote. Abject racism. And today, Planned Parenthood shamelessly builds on Margaret Sanger's legacy. According to a new report of the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, get this, Planned Parenthood has strategically located 79% of its abortion clinics in Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. And despite being less than 1/3 of the U.S. population, blacks and Hispanics account for nearly 2/3 of all abortions performed. For liberty and justice for all, we must end abortion in America. We must stand with every American of every race and creed and color in their right to life. As long as Roe remains in force, the radical left in this country will never stop pushing for more and more extreme abortion-related policies. Don't ever doubt it. I mean, Democrat-run cities across this country are now providing financial incentives for abortion by implementing paid abortion leave. In Boston, for example, a government employee can receive 12 weeks of paid leave for an abortion, which is the same benefit provided for childbirth. In days gone by, maybe even before some of you were born, liberals used to view abortion as a necessary evil. Remember, they used to say safe and legal and rare. No longer. Many on the left now believe abortion is a moral good to be celebrated and encouraged. But we gather here today at this National Pro-Life Summit and on the streets of our nation's capital yesterday to declare with one voice, Roe must go. And we will never stop working to create a world where every child, born and unborn, is protected by law and cherished as a precious gift of God. The good news is today there is hope on the horizon that the days of Roe v. Wade are coming to an end. Every serious legal scholar in America knows that the Roe decision was manufactured out of whole cloth to achieve a predetermined political and ideological goal. Even the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg once wrote that the Supreme Court's decision in Roe v. Wade was, quote, heavy-handed judicial intervention that was difficult to justify. But now our Supreme Court has a chance to right that historic wrong once and for all. And the fact is, Americans are ready for an end to the judicial tyranny of Roe v. Wade and a return of this issue back to their democratically elected representatives. In fact, I'm told Students for Life recently released a poll showing that 8 in 10 young Americans want to vote on abortion policy in their states, and 60% of young Americans oppose Roe v. Wade because it allows abortion up to the moment of birth. This pro-life generation knows that the fight for life is the final fight for freedom, and I know you will take that cause to its just finish. I know you will. When the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, and I believe that day will come, it won't come as a surprise to anyone. It will be the culmination of a 50-year journey whose course and destination have been set by the moral compass and the will of the American people. And when that happens, I say to this rising generation, the next battlefield for life will emerge. And your generation must lead the fight for life in every state across this land. Let me say, we are deeply inspired to see the passion in this room. And the compassion, and the kindness and the compassion of this generation. But as I close, let me offer you a challenge. because these are serious times, with a real prospect of a post-Roe America before us. I urge you to prepare your minds for action. First, keep reaching out with care and love to women facing crisis pregnancies. Crisis pregnancy centers are on the front line in the battle for hearts and minds in the cause of life, and they deserve your prayers and support. We've moved hearts across this nation because in the course of this movement, we've loved them both. And secondly, young men and women in this time of bullying political correctness, keep standing for life without apology. Stand up, speak out, stand firm, and be prepared to be counted in this rising generation. And thirdly, do your part. Do your part in the weeks and months ahead to elect and re-elect women and men at the federal, state, and local level who will stand for the right to life. America needs pro-life majorities back in Congress and in every state house in the land. And finally, if you're inclined to bow the head and bend the knee from time to time, I encourage you to do that too. Present your request to God. Pray for the babies and their mothers. Pray for our leaders at every level. Pray that the conservatives on our Supreme Court will have the courage of their convictions. And as you pray, remember the words inscribed on the third panel of the Jefferson Memorial, that you might well take a moment to visit before you leave our nation's capital. Thomas Jefferson said, and I quote, "God who gave us life gave us liberty. Can the liberties of our nation be secure when we have removed the conviction that these liberties are a gift of God?" And he added, "Indeed, I tremble for my nation when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever." So pray for America. Pray for all the American people in this one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. It'll make a difference, I promise. Men and women of Students for Life, it has been great to be with you today. And I just know with your compassion, your leadership, and your faith, I believe with all my heart that we will send Roe versus Wade to the ash heap of history, and we will give the American people a new beginning for life. And the day will come when the right to life is the law of the land in every state in these United States. And this pro-life generation will lead us there. So let's get to work. Thank you. And God bless you all.